Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my officially first YouTube video on the ERanked Talks channel. In my first video, I would like to go through my top 5 games of all time. Before we start, please take in mind that this is purely my honest opinion and yours might and probably will be completely different. Without further ado, relax, sit back, and let me guide you through my list. Once again, we're back in an insanely detailed and beautiful recreation of New York City. Bigger and more alive than ever, and with that, on number 5, a very strong title from last year, Spider-Man 2 PS5 from the amazing Insomniac studio, which really gave their everything to make this title a truly wonderful experience. They set some pretty good standards with their previous 2 hits, Spider-Man in 2018 and Miles Morales in 2020. But Spidey 2 swung in and swept the floor with both. I was not such a huge fan with Spidey 1 or Miles, but this game left me speechless too many times to not give it the credit it deserves. The difference between Spidey 1 and 2 are basically night and day. The old game, it looked good back in 2018, but the improvement is just too big. As a Marvel fan from the core, and with Kraven being my favorite Spidey villain, I felt like a little kid dreaming about having a Spider-Man game playing this title. From the graphics to the gameplay, I found this game to be perfect in every field. Yuri Lowenthal did again a really amazing job portraying Peter Parker, and it's really a shame this game did not win a single category on the Game Awards of 2023. Comparing to the first title, I really had the feeling that Insomniac took the comments and advices the fans had to say, because they improved in every field possible. The first game was lacking enemy variety in my opinion, and I was very pleased to see that it was not the same issue here. I truly believe this is the best portrayal of Spider-Man's most iconic villains. The swinging mechanics were a lot more enjoyable and fluent, which created my favorite traversal system so far. From the first scene till the end, I felt like I was watching a movie filled with emotions, amazing boss fights, and it became increasingly harder to put down my controller the more I played. I was impressed with how much they crammed into this game, and switching gameplay to ensure it's never boring. The only con I found were the game-breaking bugs and glitches, which made the experience to a lot of people really unenjoyable. Other than that, what I personally did not like that much was the character development of Yuri Watanabe. Her role in Marvel Spider-Man 2 was kind of unimportant in my opinion, because I really felt like everybody can be a superhero now, which was kinda disappointing. The character models are probably the one thing they did not improve on, because let's be honest, the models from the first game looked way more natural. The tedious and somewhat boring side quests from the first game are a lot more fun to play, and some of them really left a mark in my heart. With the amazing runtime of 28 hours, I was able to finish everything to reach the Platinum Trophy and satisfaction in my heart. Moving forward to the number 4, I placed Red Dead Redemption 2 from probably the most known studio, Rockstar Games. And fair play, because they 100% outdone themselves this time. Along with Spider-Man and God of War, this game stood out just as much in 2018, which was arguably one of the best years for the gaming industry. I remember the first time seeing the hype that was going around the game, and to be honest, I was not really interested, but everything changed really quickly after I launched the game for the first time. Seeing the size of the game, I was not sure if I'm ready to sacrifice so many hours to see what this hype is all about, but looking back at it, I would be really disappointed in myself if I didn't go for it. It's a huge, outstanding piece of art in the gaming world overall. The story is set in a fictionalized representation of the United States in 1899, where you play as a truly amazing outlaw called Arthur Morgan. You are living as a cowboy, day in, day out, eating, bathing, sleeping, everything in a huge open world. The character of Arthur Morgan has been brilliantly written. His bonding with his fellow gang members, especially with Dutch van der Linde, was unique. Hands down, the story got me real good, because I remember crying like a little child watching the final moments of Arthur and how much his character development was perfected. The roughly 120 hours I spent in this game really opened up the meaning of what a proper open world game should look like. From the bounties to the hunting and the random amazing encounters, everything felt insanely well made. The first thing that stood out to me was how good the honor system and animal bonding was made and how it affected everything in my gameplay style. The amount of details in this beautiful, vast world was just too much to be true. And it was not just about diversity, but about how alive everything felt. The same goes for the Easter eggs and hidden details, which I spent around 20 plus hours just running around the map looking for them, and to be honest, I loved every single minute. What I found truly amazing was the fact that after so many hours, the game did not seem repetitive or boring for me at all. The one thing we all agree on is that a lot of times we found ourselves completely forgetting about the main quest just to do every single little thing we found on our way. And exactly that kind of sidetracking in other games pushed me away from my main plot. But in this game I didn't feel that disconnect. I would highly recommend this game to anyone who even slightly likes a story-based game. You will not be disappointed. You may have to stick with it for a while to really get into it, but it is worth every moment you spend on it. Looking back at it, it's still one of the best looking games I have ever seen in my life, and I would even rank it above Horizon Forbidden West, which was released 4 years later than Red Dead Redemption 2. For me, this type of game comes once in a lifetime. With 2 amazing games done, we move into the top 3, which holds a really special place in my heart. Winning a bronze medal in my gaming book is going to the Game of the Year 2013, The Last of Us. This game was such a spectacular story-driven, apocalyptic experience that 11 years ago, as a kid at that time, I was just out of my damn mind. In total, I finished part 1 around 4 times, and I was not bored even once. I remember watching the first playthrough series about it, and I was never that invested into a game before. From the brutal and satisfying combat, through the tense atmosphere this game held, to the amazingly written characters and their development. Seeing the story through very different pairs of eyes, and those of Joel's and Ellie's, was combined perfectly. How Joel found his spark of caring, and the dead intuition kicked back into him after how important Ellie became to him was so good, and I loved their whole journey. The zombies in The Last of Us were none like I've seen before. The stress and fear clickers caused me really affected the respect I had during my first run. I lost myself in Naughty Dog's vision of a pandemic-ridden United States, in the characters that populate this unfortunate wasteland, and in their individual stories. The Last of Us is not a cheerful story, but it's a damn good one. I honestly do not remember any issues I had with the game. After a couple of hours, I already had 10 out of 10 made up in my mind. This game really hits all the right notes, with a really wonderful sound design leading you through the whole journey. Even though it was supposed to be an open world, I think the type of linear exploration to story progression ratio they decided to go with was amazing. And the only reason for you to explore was to fall more in love with the stories of survivalists that left the cruel, dark world The Last of Us represents with their final goodbye. This game is a must-play for someone with a passion for story games. Naughty Dog has taken what it learned from crafting the Uncharted franchise and spun that experience into a more down-to-earth, realistic adventure that shines to this day. To a lot of people this game was filled with violence, and I get that point. Not everybody likes violence, but in that case, this game is not for those of that opinion. I'm not saying that the game does not have any. As a matter of fact, it has a plenty of well-deserved violence, because for me everything felt like it was done with a perfect context. This game was a great conclusion to Naughty Dog's relationship with the PlayStation 3, and I can say and only remember the amazing feeling of discovering and finishing this masterpiece myself. With that being said, my number 2 is what I believe to be the peak in the gaming industry. My silver trophy goes to God of War Ragnarok, which in my opinion should have won the Game Awards in 2022. Sorry, Elden Ring fans. Don't get me wrong, Elden Ring is a really good game too, but God of War outscales in every possible category. I knew that the continuation of this Norse mythology was going to be spectacular, but God of War Ragnarok still surprised me even more. In the first 15 minutes, we already had a chat with Odin himself and fought the beast of a man, the god of thunder, which blew my mind completely. Yeah, you heard me right. In the first 15 minutes, you have a f***ing fight with Thor. Come on now, what can be better than that? The gameplay was even better than in 2018. Even though a lot of people said that there were no real innovations to combat, I did not mind that fact at all, just purely because how smooth and fluent the combat was. The music score was so damn good, and thanks to Hozier for making Blood Upon the Snow, I found my new favorite song. Simply put, Santa Monica Studio gave us the complete package. Yeah, okay, I know I mentioned character development in probably all of the games before. Hear me out. Kratos had the best one I've probably ever seen. The story he and Atreus went through together was amazing and heartbreaking at some points, but the ending could have not been better. Some studios call this whole game to be a DLC or just an extended version of 2018's game, which is purely outrageous in my opinion. The story was ended perfectly. Now I do really want to see Kratos again, continue to different mythologies. If they decide to let it go, I would still be satisfied because I know that we already have our God of Hope. And the title, and seeing how Kratos turned from the raging monster to something really meaningful, finished the story perfectly. Now, with only one title left, we're getting close to finishing my list. For the gold medal, my favorite game of all time, which I cannot shut up about, is The Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt. Now, this game for me, it means comfort. This is a perfect example how I think every RPG game should look like. My opinion about this game is definitely biased, but I recommend this game to everyone when they tell me that they haven't played it to see if they like it as much as I do. I remember playing this back in 2016, 1 year after the release on Christmas break, and let me tell you, that was everything a little gamer inside of me needed. I can't believe that it has already been 9 years since the release of this masterpiece, but I think the graphics of the Witcher world are still incredible, and the game has aged like a fine wine. The breathtakingly gorgeous world that CD Projekt has crafted is a feast for the eyes. The attention to detail in every environment, character model, and lighting effect contributes to a world that feels alive and is rich with history. This was the first title that showed me how much your decisions can affect the whole journey you go through, and with me currently having around 450 hours in the game, I tried and loved every possible outcome the game made up after reviewing my choices. Geralt of Rivia became my favorite gaming character of all time, and playing with this sarcastic Witcher filled my heart with joy and amazement at how many hidden details, side quests, card tournaments I went through without feeling any monotony. The Witcher showed me that the DLCs can be as much, if not even better, than the main game, because the story and the world that the Witcher 3 DLCs lead you through was such a breathtaking adventure that I could not be more satisfied with. This game left a huge mark on me and set standards that no other game crossed for me, even if they were looking better or had a deeper story. For 8 years, and I think it will stay that way forever, Witcher 3 will always have a special place in my heart and will probably always be my #1 game of all time. With this, my list is done. I probably showed you what my taste in games is, and I really hope you enjoyed me talking about the games you probably already saw, played, and heard loads about. But I would love to thank every one of you that made it to the end. As mentioned, these games have, I believe, my biased opinion, because the feeling playing them for the first time gave me too many good memories to change that. Thank you once again for listening, and please let me know in the comments what your top 5 list is all about. Have a lovely day and enjoy the games you play to the fullest.